The most recent conflict between the Egyptian president and the judiciary is a serious one, and there are three things that we should know about it. Firstly, the Egyptian judiciary has been highly politicized since Mubarak's days, and when the current president claims that people in position are essentially remnants of the old regime that are operating with a political motivation, that have nullified an elected lower house of parliament, that have dismissed a constitution writing assembly, and there were serious rumours that they would do the same thing again with the current upper house of parliament and the new constitution writing assembly. President Morsi and his team thought it was much wiser to be ahead of the game and dismiss the prosecutor general as well as immunise the presidency from any judicial oversight. Rightly, there have been jitters around this, but that was the thinking of the president in Egypt, that he was more or less trying to preserve the aims of the revolution by preempting what the judiciary was rumoured to do again. Given that they've done it before, it was possible that they would do that. The second point to bear in mind is that yes, the judiciary was politicised, but that does not justify President Morsi grabbing both judicial as well as executive, and in the absence of a functional parliament, legislative power all for himself. And there are real reasons for concern. But it's got to be said that much of the reason why he's been so successful in doing this is because the opposition parties in Egypt have been highly dysfunctional, deeply confrontational, and lack legitimacy outside their limited political networks. And thus far they've failed to articulate a vision that allows for both themselves and the president and other parties in Egypt to come together and write what is essentially an important document, which brings me to my third point. And that's at risk in all of this is the writing of the constitution. This is not just a challenge in Egypt, but across the other Arab Spring countries, that new documents, hopefully lasting documents that are being written that ought to reflect, rule of law, transparent government, minority rights, religious freedom, and those are the real issues that should be on the table and being discussed in debates across the country and beyond. And my worry is that at this juncture, these issues are being put to a side and political fighting has broken out. And unless we return to understanding what the big picture is, I'm afraid no amount of street protests will allow for greater prosperity to play out in Egypt.